Wagwan, are you there? What's good? And you know who this is, baby. The number one podcast in America, dedicated to all you kings and queens of color, homies and homettes, shotters, woo gals, G-boys, and charges. The one and only Jerk Jollof and Collard Greens podcast.
Wagwan, are you there? What's good? I'm your host, Glenn, aka G Ransom, and you're tuning in to none other than the Jerk Jollof and Collard Greens podcast. And welcome to part 2 of episode 19, where we'll resume our discussion on Black mental health awareness, which is also the first installment of our Watagwan series and final line of bonus content we'll be releasing post-season. And today, we are lucky and fortunate enough to be rejoined by psychologist, professor, podcaster, and artist, Dr. Cynthia, as a member of our guest panel to help us close the loop on this topic. For part 2 of our discussion, our focus will be on the tips, advice, and the tech to staying well mentally, as well as ways we can help see stigmas towards mental health wellness within African American, Black, and minority communities. Hashtag stop the stigma. So if you missed part 1, where we spoke on how to identify if you, a friend, or a loved one may be in need of help, as well as best practices for seeking or getting help, then be sure to browse our content catalog for part 1 of this discussion to get caught up. But before we delve any further, if you aren't already a follower or would like to learn more about the podcast, definitely check us out on Instagram and Facebook at JJC Podcast, where you can stay up to date on our latest offerings, announcements, and join the JJC community. Now, if you know anything about this podcast, you know that we are the diaspora's most cultured podcast, and I attribute that honor to my brothers in bonds, OGs of the JJC panel, starting with Mr. Naira, the originator, D-Black.
What up? What's good?
All right. Next, fellow co-host, angriest man on the panel, Chunky.
I know last episode I was on cookies, but this episode I'm on ice cream.
Why do you not give us a sound warning before you do these things?
And as always, spontaneous. Next up, we have our social media plug, the franchise, Francis.
What up? What's good, y'all?
All right. Last but not least, our fellow in-house creative, half Rico, half amazing, Dre P.
Hey, what's up?
A little somber there, but we'll get them up to spirits. Don't worry. We'll get them up to spirits.
I felt sly, like a sly high.
It's those California vibes.
Smooth.
You gotta send us some of that heat over there, bro. And now I'd like to introduce our guest to the panel, psychologist, artist, podcaster, and professor, Dr. Cynthia Northington Purdy. How are you today, Dr. Cynthia?
I'm fine, thank you. And thank you all for inviting me to come back.
Well, thank you for coming back. We thought, after hearing the first part, I'm like, I hope we didn't scare her away.
Impossible.
Nah, no doubt. And I guess one more time, for we mentioned it in the first episode, but I guess how can people, find out more information about you or reach out to you? You have an Instagram, I understand.
Yes. And since the last time I was on here, I started my website.
Yay.
I know. It's C Northington P.
Nice.
And that website is dedicated to the second half of my century on Earth. And I'm painting and I'm selling my artwork and I've become somebody else. So it's wonderful. I'm so happy. Instagram, it's at C Northington P.
Very nice.
And starting in September, my podcast will be back live, and it will be it's called Your Teaching Career, and it's for people who teach in all levels. It is to encourage them to keep the faith and give them information and show them how not to get unmotivated and technology, that sort of thing.
Yeah, definitely. Very necessary, because I know, as you know, like a lot of teachers are returning back to their classrooms. And, I definitely hear that it's going to be quite an experience with COVID still looming, still out there, the different standards now. So definitely, if you're an educator, the podcast will come in handy.
Thank you.
Nah, no doubt. And I just have to say, it seems like you wear many hats. Are you sure you're not like secretly Jamaican? Because there's a thing out there that no one has
I
no
remember
job.
I remember that Saturday Night Live sketch where they had the Jamaicans with the jobs. No, just turned out that way.
I know your hustle's at 100. I hear you, but I'm the only Jamaican here right now, so I'm always looking for more
Oh,
Jamaicans to
sorry,
join the ranks. It's okay. We'll get you. We'll adopt you. Don't worry. All right. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and just jump into it. So I just wanted to go ahead and just drop a disclaimer real quick as we did with part one. And just wanted to say that we understand that mental health wellness and awareness is indiscriminate to race, nationality, and gender. And by no means are we disregarding the struggles of others. However, the focus and mission of today's discussion is to hone in on a body of people who have for years been programmed and taught to suffer in silence, disregard their voices, and identify with their struggles. So we're hoping with this discussion will not only help those within African American or minority communities that may be in need of or currently receiving help, but also assist those that brave the field daily, therapists, psychologists, and the alike to provide the best care possible to those within the Black community and people of color. So without further ado, let's chop. And this episode once more is focused on the piece that we like to call staying well. So Dr. Cynthia, I'd like to start with you on this first question. What are some steps we can follow daily to preserve or improve our mental well-being? And whether that's receiving therapy or out of therapy, like what are some practices that we can follow daily?
Before even seeking therapy, we need to be, as a people, we need to become aware of ourselves. It's interesting. I went to church today, and the pastor said this, and it totally freaked me out. I said, "Oh, that's exactly what I want to say tonight." That you got to check in with you before you can check in with the world. We jump out of bed, we jump in the shower, we jump. We drive around. You're talking to people, you're on the phone. We need to check in with ourselves the first time, as soon as we open our eyes. I'm not talking about prayer, although awesome, but even if that's not your orientation, if you could just not even meditate, although that's also amazing, just think about yourself. I'm awake. Today is whatever day it is, and just take inventory of your body. How do I feel today? How do I feel about getting out of the bed and going about my day? How do I feel? What do I want to happen today? Do I like myself this morning?
No, that's a
Because
fact.
some mornings you wake up and you're disappointed with yourself. It's like, oh man, so first, that's your first step. That's your first step. And it's also been advised now that the best thing to do as far as your body and your mind are concerned is make sure that you are hydrated first thing in the morning. That we usually, and I'm guilty of it, I drink coffee first thing in the morning, but it is actually recommended by many physicians that you drink water first thing, just to flush it all out, just to flush, and it's supposed to, we see something so simple, but it actually has calming and antidepressive qualities. Just remaining hydrated, because when we wake up in the morning, you're dehydrated. You haven't had anything to drink for hours. And the long drink you had was probably not very good for you. So yeah, you need to rehydrate, take stock. It doesn't even need to take long, like 5 to 7 minutes. Just breathe and think about it. Think about yourself. And then you can then concentrate on someone else. Next steps. Make sure that the people that you interact with, because you have to interact with them, make sure that you interact with them in a way that honors you and your principles. Everybody that we interact with is not on our side. And yet we have to deal with them because we have to work with them. You have to make sure that the way that you interact with them honors you.
Amen.
Not them. See, but no, I'm saying that because as Black people, we tend to, I don't know if this is left over from the plantation or what, but we're people pleasers. We're entertainers. You know, I mean, we're looking at people's faces. Oh, he's laughing. Great. You know, the person that we should work the hardest to make happy is ourselves. And in the Black community, we look at that and say, oh, you're so conceited and selfish and you're not. But other populations don't do that. You know, they don't do that. And we vilify, oh, who do they think they are? They believe that they are somebody. 30 years ago, Jesse Jackson, what was it, 30 years ago? Jesse Jackson used to, you know, have people chanting, I am somebody. He did that for a reason. Because a lot of Black folks are walking around feeling like they're nobody. You ever felt like that?
Yeah. Well, what about the people that, I don't know. It's funny because I feel like sometimes I see people that maybe think a little bit too much of themselves. And that kind of infringes on maybe like,
what do you see? You would have to be more specific.
Okay. I can't think of and I guess I can't think of a specific person right now. But yes, I don't know. I feel sometimes I see people in communities, I guess in society, not community, in society that maybe they think that they are better than they are, and then they kind of are more boisterous than other people, you know? Like
you don't know what they're thinking. First of all, we presume to say you think we don't know what a person is thinking. And it has been my experience, the people who go out of their way to present themselves as superior, they do so because they feel inferior. I mean, you pretty much, you know, you see this 40-year-old man walking around like he's all this and all that. It really turns out that they act that way because they're intimidated perhaps by your expertise. Oh gosh. Okay. So
be intimidated. Be intimidated by me. I'm great.
I said, all right. So you get up and you start interacting with people from a what am I trying to say? A self-empowering point of view. All right. Take stock in the middle of your day. If you can, stop and get by yourself. And just breathe. Close your eyes and breathe. You know, we don't take time for ourselves like that. You know, we got our music in our ears. We got this going on, that going on. There's always somebody around you. Get by yourself and turn off the radio and just think. Just think. Breathe. Think. Close your eyes. Okay. Spend some time with you. When you love somebody, you spend time with them. Do you love you?
Yeah.
Do you love you? Do you treat yourself like
I love y'all.
No, but you need to treat yourself like someone you love. How can you love other people if you don't know how to treat the one person who's, you know, that you know best?
So I do have a question. So how do you properly manage expectation in a healthy way from other people, and how do you balance that?
Expectation?
Yeah, expectation. Yeah,
yours
like
or theirs?
You know, like, well, the societal expectation that we place on ourselves. Like it could be cultural expectations, you know, it could be, you know, just, you know, like you say, sometimes you have to be selfish, right? So, and kind of think about yourself. And how do you properly do that in a healthy way? Because there has to be a balance there. Or do you think you have to always just fully think about yourself at all times and put everybody else secondary?
I don't, that makes it sound so concrete and kind of perverted. What I meant by that is you're not out there trying to hurt other people so that you can feel good. You know, for example, I have children. I care for them. I go out of my way and inconvenience myself for them, not because they're demanding or that they expect me to do things, but because it makes me feel good when they're happy. It makes me feel good I go to work. Well, I will be soon. I've been off for a year. Back into the university, there are going to be people who have wild expectations, right? I have a job description at the end of the day. As long as I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, I'm honoring myself. Anything beyond that makes me feel uncomfortable or makes me feel funny, I have the option of saying no. I have the option of saying, I need to think. How many times has someone asked you for something professionally and you've said, I'll think about that and get back to you?
Yeah,
You know,
that's
because
tough.
see, superiors, when they give a command, by the way, a good command is 10 words or less. Okay, you talk too much, you soften it. A good command is 10 words less. They come at you and say, I need this now, or they ask you to do something and you get intimidated and say, okay. If it's not something that is life-threatening, or the company is going to go into bankruptcy immediately, or whatever. But think about it. Is this putting extra stress on me? Is this something that can be done by someone else? Is this something that I can micromanage to somebody else to do? You know what I mean? Think about yourself.
Okay.
How is this affecting me? Do I have to do this? Oh, all right. If not,
So pretty much normalize saying no, and some of those because,
normalize thinking about yourself before you make decisions.
yeah.
What I kind of gather from it is just
Black men,
us.
you guys don't know how to say no to.
Yeah, we struggle with. I know I struggle with that personally.
Yeah,
So
like kind of like identifying what we're capable of doing, and also knowing that much about ourselves, knowing when we do need help or when we do need to reach out and extend that heirloom to someone else to possibly handle what's put in front of us. It sounds like, yeah, that's been a problem now with Black people in period. We just don't know how to, like you said, we don't know how to say no, manage our expectations, or even how to speak up and say, hey, you know what, I need help. And yeah, I definitely get down with that.
Yeah. And just be honest with yourself. There are expectations. My brother down here, there are expectations that people have of our race. And even though we're in the era of Black Lives Matter and critical race theory, people, especially people over the age of 45, there are still some really ingrained stereotypes that some people operate at. And even Black people, we have stereotypes of ourselves, that we're not like that. We don't do that. But, come on now, So, you gotta, I all my life, like I said in the last recording, I'm not stereotypical because I did not grow up in an impoverished environment. I didn't, all of those things that, you look at a Black person, you think, oh, that poor person, she grew up in the streets of Philadelphia and blah, blah, blah. And you automatically assume that you don't have to be what people think you are. A lot of Black people are depressed because they're trying to live up to somebody else's definition of them.
I'm not a monolith.
Huh?
I am not a monolith.
Treat yourself like someone you love.
That's probably one of the best affirmations I've heard in a while. And I know that's become quite a thing, especially on social media. Right now I'm calling it, with all the issues that are going on in the world, social media has somewhat been the Black people's champion, I think, in a way, in a good sense, because you get a lot of those, if you're following the right things, you see a lot of positive affirmations out there. You see this outreach for awareness. You see, things that are being recorded, and like, I don't know if you guys saw it in Short Hills Mall in New Jersey. We had that Victoria's Secret Karen and everything like that. Like, people today are now like mobilizing and empowering themselves to kind of speak out on things that are happening. And I think it's slowly, reversing some of the issues that we've had today when it comes to like wellness and awareness and just being ourselves in public. Because as of this year, it's like it's a weird time to be Black almost. It's like it's a trivial time to be a person of color.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's challenging. Roll to the next question. And thank you, Dr. Cynthia, for all that feedback there. I guess, is there any other comments from the panel on that piece? So I guess what we're able to gather is, a part of the mental wellness is also physical. If you're drinking rum and Coke first thing in the morning, swap that for water, and of course, identifying,
Dang it, so I can't do that no more. Okay.
You gotta chill.
I'll put the tequila down. Got it.
No, you gotta have a glass of water before the rum and coke.
Yeah, but just think
I-
about, you haven't had, if you wake up in the morning, you haven't had anything to drink for several hours. You are
Yeah.
dehydrated. And that's why it's not a really good idea to make decisions until you've had, something. I mean, but water's recommended. Yeah.
Max, I hear you on that because sometimes it's like I feel like I'm aggravated, but I realize, you know what, maybe I'm just hungry.
Yeah.
So what I learned to do is just like,
Give him a
for real,
snicker.
like pack a snack or something and just eat that before I get, like at work, I deal with a lot of stress. It's corporate, being Black in corporate. It's just an issue. And before I address something that I know is going to agitate me, sometimes I feel like I'm exacerbating it by jumping on it head on first without taking some time to really reflect and look at what's presented to me. So sometimes like it'll be like, you know what, maybe I need to eat something before I address this, take a mental break, walk away from my computer for a second, close my browser, shut down the email before I look at it and respond, and maybe even jeopardize, my status and my position with who I work with. So,
And I've seen Selassie hungry too, so I know how that goes. It does not go well.
Yeah, sugar levels are down. It's a beast.
When in doubt, give him a snicker.
Exactly.
So we'll jump to the next question, and this will address specifically some of the applications out there today, the tech. I mean, I know you touched on some of these, Dr. Cynthia, in the last first part one. We were talking about what are your thoughts on mental health apps that are on that we can download on our devices today. One of the examples we gave were Calm, and I remember you were actually listing a couple. So I guess if you could probably recite some of those apps again and then tell us what your thoughts are on them and maybe where they fit in and which apps might be best for which certain set of people or what the expectations are behind them.
Okay. First of all, no, there's no one thing that's going to help everybody. So I mean, if you download an app and you don't think it's helping you, delete it. There are plenty of resources out there. So there's no reason to say, well, forget it. And there are even if you don't like using your apps on your phone, there are people who are depressed, but they don't like the whole app situation. There are 1-800 numbers where people are just standing by, waiting for someone to call. I mean, it's really, we're living in a good time. We're living in a good time as far as depression and anxiety are concerned because there are so many resources. Okay, so apps. I think I mentioned this one last time, but I'll just repeat myself with these. These are free, by the way. I'm not going to tell you any apps that aren't free. You might have to pay like those in-app purchases, like if you want somebody, like if for example, there's an app called Better Health. It's for anybody who needs to talk to someone, and once you sign up, you have to pay the therapist, but it's a fraction of what you'd pay for somebody like me. Okay, so
Facts.
Ayana, Ayana. It's a free app. It's on Google, Android, iOS. It's on all the platforms, and it helps minorities find a therapist. I think I mentioned this last time. It's important, but it's a good resource because a lot of times we know we want to talk to somebody, we know we need to talk to somebody, but we don't know how to find somebody because in our community, not that many people are seeing a therapist. Not that many people admit that they have a problem. You don't know who to ask. Right? I mean, grandma might say, ask the pastor. He gonna tell you exactly, what I mean? So that might not be who you want to talk to. So this is great. You put in your demographics, and I like the way they handle the referral process, or somebody that who's living with you who is a source of your anxiety and needs to talk to someone. Just saying. Liberate is a really cool Black meditation app. Liberate. Liberate. And it's a meditation app. It gives you ideas of things when you, in the middle of the day, beginning of the day, in the middle of the day, and the end of the day, get quiet and get by yourself and think about yourself. This will give you some things to think about. So you're just sitting there and you're breathing and your eyes are shut and your mind goes blank. This will help you focus on something, you know, or just some aspect of your life. It's actually, it's nicely done. Okay. Black Men Heal. This is a website, blackmenheal.org. It's one word, blackmenheal.org. And it offers free therapy for Black men.
That is cool.
Yeah, and I clicked around on there too, because I said, oh, no way. But yeah. I mean, I don't think that, oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just wondering, is there any qualification, or is it just open to anyone?
You have, you know, you specify what you think you might need to talk about. And based on that, you get who you get. I don't think that they're the counselors that they have on there are as credentialed as some of the others. But the way I see it, you know, if you don't have $175 for 45-minute session with a psychologist,
Good place to start.
Exactly.
better than nothing, better than no one. And really, you know, sometimes it's just good to talk to somebody who doesn't know you and doesn't know your wife and doesn't know your kids and doesn't know your boss and doesn't, you know what I mean? They don't know any of the people, any of the characters, and they can just listen with a clear head. Yeah. You ever notice that when someone comes to you and they have a problem, right? You hear yourself giving advice that's real deep and really insightful. It's like, whoa, I just said that. Yes, you know, but your own life is chaos, right? It doesn't, because when somebody else is listening to you, they can see things that you can't see. They can hear things that you're not hearing yourself say. So that's why it's a good thing. Okay, I have the mainstream ones: Headspace, Talkspace. Headspace is an app. Talkspace is an app where you can get on, and it kind of gives you, you don't have to talk to a licensed person if you don't want to, but it has some helps if you'd rather just, and I think it's Headspace that has, it's like an automated, I tried it once. It's ridiculous. It's either Headspace or Talkspace. It's automated, like not automated, but like you put in what your problem might be, you know, like, so I at the time, this is a couple of years ago, I said, my children are driving me crazy. Right? And well, and it was like, what do you mean? So I tell you, well, and then it was, you could tell it was a computer answering. But it was prompting me to describe my problem, which is kind of what I needed to do. Sometimes you just need to talk it out because, you really don't have anybody else you can be honest with sometimes.
Headspace is kind of nice too, because it also has some targeted meditations that are kind of cool. So I like that. I've tried that one. It's pretty good.
Now, Black people, we are 20% more likely to experience anxiety and depression in the United States. We are 20% more likely to experience anxiety and depression, but we aren't likely to seek help. Yes, we are 25% more likely to experience PTSD, post-traumatic stress, because of some of the things that have gone down in our lives that we weren't allowed to talk about. Everybody, regardless of race, everybody has something going on in their lives, or in their family, in their marriage, that it's nobody talks about it. But we have, as Black people, our experiences unbelievable. We have so much. Yeah. Okay. Website. Okay. Suicide prevention. Again. You mentioned the word suicide in a community center or somewhere, and I don't want to go to hell. Oh, okay, yeah, but it's still an issue. Sometimes you feel like you would be better. Everybody would be better off if I was out of the picture for a while. It's not crazy to think that. You're not crazy. You're not any of the comments that we toss off. Please write down this number if you or anybody you know is talking about, even casually, talking about harming themselves or talking about not being here anymore or giving stuff away or, yeah. 1-800-273-8255.
Yeah, and we'll make sure that we actually, for our follow-up posts, mark these as either in the descriptor as a post for the audiences as well, who maybe not have gotten the chance to listen to this part. So they also have this information. We'll put that out there online also.
Yeah.
So definitely thank you for all the work and research you've done in putting these together.
Oh, I'm not done.
Oh no!
Oh, snap! More power.
You had enough?
You have more. You can roll it. Probably like the next 2 or 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Blackmentalhealth.com. All one word. Blackmentalhealth.com. Really, now that's, you got to click around there. There's a lot of stuff on there, but it's a great resource to, so you can narrow down what you need and who you need if you want to talk to someone. Okay, those of you who have daughters, the website is called therapyforblackgirls.com.
And it's targeted to the daughter. It's targeted to the daughters, then, right?
Girls.
No. Okay.
Girls and women. Yeah. Our experiences can be kind of freaky sometimes. Case in point. All right. I mean, because sometimes we forget who we are. We go places and we forget that we're Black. You ever go in some place and you forgot you were Black and you get reminded?
Lately, it's been very hard. It's been very. I wish that was the case.
I mean, you're so busy being you that you're not thinking about it. I don't. You know what I mean? It has to be put in your face, and yeah. Every now and then, I have those experiences in which I get followed around the store or something like that. I presented at an art show a couple weeks ago, and being the only Black there was one thing, but I was the only Black person with Black art. I had a painting of a Black man, looked like he was suffering. But being the only Black person there and just having my own artwork, and no one would talk to me. I said congratulations to 2 of the winners of the contest, and they didn't even acknowledge me at all. No eye contact, nothing. And it was really interesting because it was a really nice event. Nice, a lot of people, live jazz band. And I said, wow, what's wrong with everybody? And then I was like, oh yeah, here we go again.
Well, you realize it.
Yeah, because you don't, I mean, I don't walk through life looking for racism. I have colleagues who do, but I'm not, oh, here it is again. I mean, I'm not thinking about that. I'm just walking through life. But it's demoralizing because it's like, why they don't even know me, and they probably would like to meet me if they knew. You know what I mean? They don't even know who I am.
So you think it's like fear? So the way I look at it, I wish I wish I had instances where I walked around and forgetting that I'm Black, but being the stature that I based on my voice and the way I approach people, it's like I'm reminded of who I am. I can't walk into a room, slide into a corner, listen to something without people noticing that I'm there. And then when I speak up, there's something that you said before, that self-confidence. That self-confidence has got me to a lot more trouble than normal. So it's just like I speak knowing what I'm talking about. I prove what I'm saying. And I have the ability sometimes to use people's words against them. So someone will say something ignorant and I'll repeat it back to them. And they'll look at me like I'm crazy. Like, that doesn't sound right to you, does it? So what gives you the right to say that to me based off my skin tone and complexion? That's
confrontational,
acceptable.
Isn't it?
So
Chucky like a good confrontation, though.
So that's just how I am. It's just like, you're not going to take away from who I am because you're uncomfortable. And I'm supposed to submit to you because you're used to having a certain level of authority. If you believe in treating each other as equals or as human beings, if you choose not to do it, I'm going to force you to treat me like a human being. because I don't treat anybody less than who I am. So I don't expect it from somebody else. Like I said, I've been in a lot of trouble for doing that. And when I try to explain it, it's just like, how would you went through the same situation? They'll look at me like, well, I've never been through that. It's just like, yeah, now I can't really have you have some type of empathy or sympathy for me because it doesn't rationalize in your own head. You see it as me being confrontational, but it's not me presenting you with information and educating you. It's like, okay, this is my background. This is my story. This is what I've been through. I'm in a professional setting. I shouldn't have to deal with you like the same people I deal with out in the street. You're a professional. Either A, I work for you or I work with you. My intent isn't to harm you or to cause any trouble. My intent is to be considered and equal to you, to have my ideas and opinions listened to and not shot down because, oh, well, you're a black meathead. Oh, you played football? You're an idiot. And it's just like, okay, if you want to go that realm, then let's have an educational conversation. And I'll walk out the room like, okay, cool, it's done. Then I get approached later like, oh, you seem confrontational and angry. Is there something you want to talk about? Like, you disrespected me. That's the end of that. Like, I'm not going to accept that disrespect, period. Because if you wouldn't, what makes you think you can do it to me? Then, like I said, like having that self-confidence has built a lot of people mindset to just dislike me off the gate. And it's just like, I'm just intelligent.
That's your perception. That's your perception. You don't know what other people are thinking about you.
Oh no, they straight up say it. They have straight up just told me. And it's just like, if
that's
you
not
feel
professional.
Exactly. But when I bring that back to, like, if I told you from the gate that I don't like you, how would that make you feel? I'm just supposed to accept it because it's you speaking your mind. That's just not acceptable to me. I don't care what it is. I don't treat people like that. Like, period. So it's very hard to be extremely self-confident and to actually bring forth the information that I have without someone feeling some type of fear that I'm trying to intimidate them. If you're not confident in what you're saying, that's your problem, not mine. So I'm not going to buy into it. So my whole thing is, if I'm trying to educate you on something, don't take it as me demoralizing you or demeaning you, but it's trying to provide a piece of information. I can approach you one way that you can approach me the same way. If I'm saying something wrong, I expect you to correct me. And I have to learn how to accept that.
Okay, Chunky, right?
Yeah.
Chunky Monkey, to be more specific.
Not everybody wants to be educated. And sometimes when you say that, it's like condescending and it's a turn off to some people. You might want to investigate some words that you can use to say the same thing, but with a little more finesse.
I hear
Water
you,
that
but
thing
like,
up a little.
Yeah, because a lot of people,
finesse with a
you
hammer.
don't either. Doesn't it annoy you sometimes when people want to teach you a lesson and they start telling you, giving, come on now.
But I sit down and I hear it. Like, I'm like, it being what I do for a living, it's not outside the norm. So
Okay.
it's just like, oh, okay, you're going to school me. Let me sit back and hear you out. You're saying all this stuff. I'm listening. And it's just like, okay, cool. So what you told me was generic advice. What am I doing specifically, or what do you need me to do specifically in order to enhance myself? Well, I don't know. Then I don't want to hear that shit. It's just being honest. It's like, how can I improve myself if you're telling me like a generic statement that doesn't help me grow? You're pretty much just telling me the things that anyone else can tell me right now. But you want me to work better with you? What are the things that you need me to do with you to improve our relationship? That's what I'm looking at. What do you need me to do to improve my writing or my speech? Maybe I need to finesse things a little bit more. There is some truth to that. Yeah. Sometimes I'm just like, F it. I'm just going to tell you how it is because now I feel better. It's not to disrespect you, but I'm not going to go home with these thoughts in my head.
But
At
when you
times,
do that,
I'll just
right?
say it, and
Because
it's
when
just
you
like,
do
well, I have
that,
to-
when you do that and try to, when you saying, all right, here's what's up, they turn off. They're no longer listening. You know what I mean? When you get on there and just start, it's off-putting, and then it makes them not listen to you, which is not what you wanted. You want them to hear what you have to say. So what you need to, well, like in these situations where a person doesn't know what they're doing, or they're doing their job incorrectly, or they're approaching a problem from the wrong angle or whatever, you got to build them what I call a positive sandwich. What is a positive
Mhm.
sandwich?
Yeah, what is that, Dr. Cynthia? What is
First
that?
of all, no. Everybody likes to
Bro.
eat positive
Like a sandwich.
Okay, so you've got, one layer of thank you for coming to me with this, even though perhaps I'm not sure I understand you well enough to agree, but thank you for trusting me enough with this problem. And then you get into, here's what I would do differently if I were you, or here's how I would look at it if I were you. And then back to the other piece of bread. So, if you have any questions about that, or maybe we can come to some kind of compromise since our opinions are so different, maybe we can do that. So you got the, I hear you is the one piece of bread.
Mhm.
The suggestions for improvement are the meat, or sorry, vegans.
Impossible.
The
meat.
protein.
Alternative.
Alfalfa sprout. Okay, and then the bread is your benediction.
So my question is to that, right? I've had that happen, and to me, I guess I'm just different. I'm
Mhm.
just like, just give me the meat straight up. Let me know what it is so I can
That's you.
correct it.
That's
Right.
you.
So dealing with other people, sometimes it's just like there's so many positive sandwiches I can give you before I have to shove the protein down your throat and you get it. It sounds bad, but in a sense, it's just like I've sat in meetings. I'm like, hey, you're doing well. You can improve. Here are your mistakes. Here's how we can work on it. What's your feedback? Well, I don't think you care for me. Well, that's not it. I need you to improve. And then they keep doing the same thing over and over again. It's like, well, I'm not going to misuse my time. Here are the areas that you need improvement in. Improve them by next week. Else, we'll be sitting here again having this conversation, and it'll be written.
Well, I guess I have a question
There-
then, and sorry not to cut you, but
No,
I guess I have a question. Like, I guess like one of the issues with being Black as well is having the race discussion always thrown against us too, right? Like, hey, not everything is always in the lens of color or race. How do we know maybe our approach is just not wrong as an individual that's leading to the response we're getting? So to the flip side to that also sometimes could be maybe just us as an individuals what's offsetting before we jump to the race, context or the race discussion. So like kind of like hearing Chunky's scenario, maybe it was just the way that the situation was approached, then fueled the angst against my race. Because maybe if I tried another way or a different approach or a different scenario, maybe race wasn't an issue until my approach was wrong. And then now this compartmentalizes into this big angry Black dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And even I was going to say, even within our own kind of relationships as well, it's positive sandwich, right? Was the term. I probably think that more people respond well to a positive sandwich than the other way. I think it's very easy for people to, if you're getting right to the point, it's like, well, why are you talking to me that way? Like, so I think that's the difficulty is learning, I guess, when you give the positive sandwich and sometimes when you give it direct. And I'm sure, Chunky, you're probably thinking about that approach and I guess deciding when you do one or the other, because just doing the aggressive way is not probably is going to get you the best outcome 9 times out of 10. But yeah, I think it is always that like fine balance of because ultimately, if it's someone you have to work with, right? If it is someone who's, even if it's like your boss, right? Not someone you can kind of fire yourself, right? Sometimes I feel like when I use the positive sandwiches the most are not with people who work for me. It's normally the people who I'm working for. It's normally the people where I can't speak to them in that way because it's just not going to be handled. It's just not going to be, they're going to be focusing on how I'm saying something versus what I'm saying. And I think sometimes you have to like balance what that is, right? Is it more important for this person to like hear what I'm saying? Normally I would say yes. It's more important for them to understand what you're saying than necessarily how you're saying it. So I don't know. I know it's tough. And I think just as we all get older, we learn kind of these little tricks, but I'm definitely gonna make sure I make more advantage of, take more advantage of positive sandwiches.
Yeah, so I just want to add one point before we move on. So like, so Chunky, I give you kudos for like knowing the way you like to receive information, like, but I also like this, I mean, we did a survey, like a project at work where we were able to identify the way people like to be approached and your communication style, stuff like that. So some people like for example, my wife, she doesn't like when I tell her stories, she just wants me to get to the point. But for me, I like to like butter up the story, give her the detail from the start to the end, but she doesn't care about the meat, the bread, right? She just wants just like, tell me what you're trying to tell me already. So sometimes she likes the more straightforward stuff like Chunky does, and some people like all the detail information like I do. I like to receive information in details like that. So I think we just have to be respectful and just kind of know how people like to receive information and try your best to match that. So, and yeah, that's the way I think you're more likely to get better outcomes when you handle like that, I think. So
That's
yeah.
cultural.
I was about to
That's
say, he likes it. It's funny because that Francis is saying that because as Nigerians, that's every Nigerian would like to tell you a story with details, and not just details, sound effects.
It's
The car went boom.
sound effects. But there are many cultures that are like that. I've been told by Mexican people that, you ask how you doing. Well, my family, blah, 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 blah. And then on Thursday, I did, I mean, they'll get there. But it's circular. So, your culture determines your communication style. And yeah, storytellers, because before there were written books, in West Africa, old men would tell young men, and then young men would become old men and they tell their young men. And it was replete with facts. And it's amazing that they were able to remember stuff. We've gotten away with that in the United States. It's get to the point. That's just our culture. And it's probably annoying for you.
Yeah, you just got to learn how to kind of manage that, like you said, like we said, depending on the person and the way they deal with stuff, you have to
don't change. Don't change. Adapt.
Right.
Adapt. Right.
Adapt.
Adaptation does not mean change. Adaptation does not mean change. You got to meet halfway. All right. You're a storyteller. She's an A to B. So what's in the middle there? So the answer, so let's say she asks you a yes or no question, right?
I like that maybe.
I was about to say you say maybe.
No, the guys are laughing. It's a joke. But yeah.
Oh, okay. No, but it's a yes or no, right? And you say the answer is no. Let me tell you why.
Maybe yes.
No, but
maybe no.
Now I'm just making fun of myself.
Let her get to it.
No, but you give them what they want. They want an answer, and then go into your, because now you've both gotten what you wanted. You got to tell your story, and she got her quick answer.
Yeah.
And I think that's definitely the challenge. And like, I'm not saying that I enjoy America for its diversity, but that's also definitely one of the challenges is like, we never taught conflict resolution and we're never taught the purpose of adapting. Like, those are just not something that we're taught.
Nope. In fact, we're like, I think I said this in the last recording. We're taught to fight. We are taught how to argue. We are taught how to insult people. We are taught how to take offense over the least little thing. We're those things. Oh, I wouldn't put up with that for 1 second. Blah 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 blah. We're taught to. Well, I'm looking for racism. I'm looking for How much is my change? You didn't give me. We really. We're good at that. Or feeling upset about something. But we have to learn how to react to problems in ways that show self-love. And that's until you die, you're going to be working on that. It's not something that, snap, okay, I got it now. No, you're going to be working on that all your life. And when you get to a certain point, you're dealing with people that you have to deal with. It's going to be hard, but there'll be times when I can't talk to you right now. I'm really sorry, but I don't have it in me. I'll be back. Love you. You know what I mean? I got to get in my head for a while. You can't come.
Yeah, I think conflict resolution is super hard.
Yeah, but you gotta, again, what do you need? Oh, I said that last time too. What do you need from the situation? We always looking at, oh well, this is what he wants, so no, what do you need first?
No, I completely agree, because I'm always with that. It's just like, okay, cool. Like, some people don't understand the concept of conflict resolution. I mean, D Black has seen me go through many phases of it. I'll talk to someone and it's just like, fuck it, I'm about to charge up this fist and they're gonna eat it. And it's just like, I'm done. It's like, because I'm trying to say something to you, and it comes down to that point where I'm just like, I'm so agitated, where it's just like, I feel as though I'm going to physically harm you to let me step away from it because you're not listening to me. Is that the appropriate measure? No, but I know that about myself, how I get, and I'm able to manage and control it. Does it come out that way? Like, oh, I'm going to punch you in the mouth in a professional setting? No, it'll never come out that way. It's just like, okay, cool. You're not hearing the things that I'm telling you. You're choosing not to listen to anything I'm saying. You're creating the own narrative in your head. You may have it. At some point, we'll talk again. But when that point comes, you stay on that side, I stay on this side. Whatever needs to be done for the job, I'm all for doing. I'm not going to bring up my personal issue with you, but I'm not going to elect this, accept the problem that we're having to affect the progression that the company needs to make. The company is more important than our issue. So you can hate me all you want. I value that hate. I'll put it in my coffee. I'll drink it in the morning. It will give me that ammunition to keep moving forward to be successful.
From you, I keep hearing the idea that people are not going to like you, that people are going to, you spend a lot of time on that,
It's hard
you have an
because
expectation. You have an expectation of not being liked. Sometimes if you expect something to keep happening over and over again, that's what's going to happen.
You gotta tell them to pay you for this session. You gotta tell them to pay you. You gotta tell them to pay you.
So let me finish. So what I'm projecting are things that I have been through, and understanding that it's been in more situations than none, and it's super frustrating. I've learned how to adapt to it, but it doesn't mean it's still not frustrating. I don't walk into every situation thinking that if I say something, this person's gonna think of me that way. I don't give a fuck how you feel about me at the end of the day. Realistically, it's just like, I came here to do a job. I'm gonna do my job. If we gel, we gel. If we don't, unfortunately, that's just the situation. But that's not going to deter me from trying to work as hard as possible to make something between us or to be productive and efficient. It doesn't stop me from doing my day-to-day business.
Actually, Dr. Celia, I'll pay for this invoice. We need this.
I was gonna say, I feel like everyone. I'm just picking on you right now, but I feel like whenever I hear people say they don't care, they do really care.
There you go.
Like, I don't know if I always believe when someone says you don't care about how you feel, whatever, because I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Like, it may be like a 90-10 thing with you, maybe, or maybe it's 99 and 1%. But I do think you care. And I think it's normal to care, especially when you're in a workplace, when you're working with other people to help yourself get through a goal. I think you do somewhat care.
No.
It may not make you sad, or you may not go home and be upset about it or whatever. But I think we all care what I think is, as a whole, I think humans do care about what other people think of them.
So I break it down.
Different variations of it, but
to a certain extent, it's just like, I hear you. There's some instances in certain environments where I do care. The environment that we have here on this dynamic of the podcast, I care.
Yeah.
At work, it's just like, at the end of the day, I'm going to perform, and that's what makes the difference. My personal grievance with you realistically isn't going to help anything. But if I'm there banging out the emails, carrying out the tasks, doing what I have to do, and you have some type of problem with me, that's your loss, not mine. I can't sit there and try to always fix it, because I need to get through the day-to-day business. I'm going to go home. I'm going to say, hey, this is what happened to me today. It frustrated me. But tomorrow, I can't really bring that over. I have to be productive the next day. So when I say I don't care, it doesn't faze me in a sense where I'm just like, oh, can you like me? Can we go and get coffee? You don't get coffee today? That's fine. Hey, I need you to bang out this email for me. I appreciate you. Keep doing what you're doing. You're amazing. You're great. I don't hear shit that comes out your mouth after that. I'm just going to stay in my lane, but that's just how I function. But if something needs to happen and you're struggling with something, I'm going to help you with it because I'm able to block out the personal issue that I have with you and focus on the end goal. And I'm going to take care of business. And I'm not going to hold that over your head. I'm not going to say that at a different time. It's what I signed up for to do this job. So like I said, at the end of the day, how you feel about me doesn't matter. What really matters is how productive we are as a unit, right? As a collective of people. That's what makes the difference. Maybe a year from now, you'll say like, hey, I was wrong about you. Cool. It took you 365 days, but now we're there. You know I'm about the business. And that's what I want people to know. Like, I'm willing to handle the job no matter what it is, no matter how frustrating it is.
And I guess I'd like to inject another point into this is that our history of not being well with conflict resolution, however, it seems like whenever we are gripped with conflict, people of color, Black people in particular, always have to be the ones to make amends. We always have to be the first to apologize. We always have to be the first to, kind of serve ourselves, be subservient, please the other people first before. I mean, my brother Chunky, he's just a person that wants to get down to it, but because he's Black and the way he may be viewed, he cannot necessarily do that. It's just like, meanwhile, our counterparts can always get down to it with us. You know what I mean? I feel like there's a little dynamic there where we're always in the position to have to always bend forward at the same time because of we're always feared of how we're going to be viewed, when maybe that's just his approach, because with everyone else, that's just their approach. If I get confronted by my VP, I have to eat it. If I were to speak up, my job is in jeopardy. Oh, we shouldn't have hired this Black guy. Why? He's confrontational. And it's just like, I have to still look out for my well-being and still expected to perform at the job. So it's kind of like, we don't know how to deal with conflict, but yet we were always the first ones to apologize. We always have to be the first ones to take the step back and be like, oh, okay, I was wrong. But is this just like a dynamic you see, Dr. Cynthia?
I saw something online not long ago, and I don't know if it was Instagram, but it's wonderful. Okay, as Black folks, what we need to do is just cross out "I'm sorry" from our vocabulary and just say thank you. Okay, so you come someplace, you were in traffic, you're a few minutes late. Thank you for waiting. Not the I'm sorry. What do you apologize for? Like, what are you apologizing for?
I take out the trash last night. Thank you.
Thank you for understanding that I was doing something else.
Ooh, I like that. I'm ready.
Yeah.
Give me
Major
another.
key. Wow.
I guess, why are you late to work today?
Why are you? That's not. Oh, okay. And you would respond, "I'm sorry." Thank you for waiting for me.
Oh yeah.
Thank you for
Thank
waiting.
you for understanding.
I
Thank you for
appreciate
understanding I still showed up.
I appreciate your patience. I appreciate your patience.
Yeah.
I'll cover for you next time you're late.
I might have to sign up for a session.
There are some
For
things
real.
you should be apologizing for. Let's not like keep it. I know we're joking right now, but
Are we?
I'm not joking.
if you're
Nah,
late,
that
if
was
you're
real.
late,
Are we-
if you're
are we
late
joking?
because if you being late resulted in like a meeting getting missed or whatever, you should apologize for that, in my opinion. I understand.
No, but I mean unnecessarily, unnecessary.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, because
Yeah.
we have a knee jerk I'm sorry reaction to stuff that we have no business apologizing about.
Absolutely.
But it's like a survival skill
It's
because
cultural.
it's survival. Like,
Yeah.
I think it's
say
programmed
it all
for
the time.
survival.
And it's not
Oh.
serving us though. It's not
It
serving
doesn't.
us.
I have a question, right? So there's an instance where I was just like,
Wait,
cool.
start
I
again.
Can you
Didn't
repeat
get the
that,
question.
Chunky? You chopped
Yeah,
up.
repeat that.
can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Mhm.
There's an instance at work where I knew I messed up. Like, I completely dropped the ball, missed the email, like didn't get back to it. And I knew my boss was gonna read me out. So I walked in there, I was just like, I'm about to get my ass chewed. So I sat there, they started going off, whatever. I'm like, you're right, I understand. Here are the mechanisms I put into place. I won't do it again. I never said I was sorry. And they just stared at me. And it was just an awkward silence. And they were waiting for me to say sorry to them.
That was a compliment.
And I was
You
just
said
like,
when you said to them, you're right. You're acknowledging that, you know, you've done something wrong and that they have a right to be upset. So that was affirming. Yeah.
But that's,
That's-
I didn't know what to do afterwards. I was like, I'm saying I'm sorry doesn't fix it, but here are the things I'm going to put in place in order for it not to happen again. My thing is just that it's either I change or I don't. So we just sat there.
Thank you for not firing me.
Oh,
Like,
my God.
what do we do?
That part.
Real talk.
Cool.
I'm glad that Dre made the distinction between because I was not about to say sorry for nothing going forward.
Yeah, they're just I'm just saying there needs, like with everything, right? We shouldn't be so black or white. You know, I think
Right.
I think you should know when you need to apologize. But I do agree. I had this conversation with my wife all the time. Like, why are you saying sorry about that? Like, that's not something you should be saying sorry about, right? But
It's a reflex.
I just wonder for the listeners, and then maybe for a few people on the panel as well. It's okay to say sorry. This isn't an excuse to never say sorry again. But yeah, absolutely, there should be. It's something that I think we all should be more mindful of. And yeah, I really like all of those ideas for creative ways to say the opposite of "oh, I'm sorry."
So Dre, so if I make a post late, instead of saying I'm sorry, I'm just gonna say I just posted it. Thanks for waiting.
Well, that's not, I mean, that's not something to be sorry about, right? Like, that came up, right? The world isn't gonna the world isn't gonna collapse because you didn't post something at 2:00. Like,
No, but for real though,
the
like
stuff we're
I think
doing,
it
like,
is
it's not the
Yeah.
world isn't gonna end as a result of you not posting at a specific time. I think we all understand that things come up, and
Yeah.
you don't post it at that time. Nothing's gonna break, right? The world, people will see it an hour later, or however many minutes after you post it, right? You know,
I'm sorry, world.
You're not gonna have to apologize to me.
Thank you, world, for waiting.
Oh, my bad. Thank you, world, for waiting.
I
Oh, wait,
apologize
is it? Oh, my bad. Is
for
I'm sorry too. My bad.
and
Wait.
Thank you for not. Yeah, exactly.
All right, so I guess we'll jump into the next point then. So, okay, we have our affirmations. We're drinking our water. You know, we're not apologizing unnecessarily. So
I didn't. That wasn't one of the things, but okay.
Oh, okay, we're not saying sorry for things we shouldn't be sorry for. Is that
Yeah.
a better way to say it? All right.
That's nicer.
All right, thank you. So, is there a cure? Like, how do we know that we are mentally there? Like, what is the indicator?
Mentally where?
Like, I guess at the place we're supposed to be. Like you mentioned before that, you know, it's ongoing. Like there is no, like, as opposed to bodybuilding.
Oh
you
yeah.
you know, you reach a certain height, certain size, certain inches, you know, you're good to go. But when it comes to mental well-being, how do we know, is there a cure is basically what I'm saying. Is there anything to indicate that, okay, whatever issues I had, it's no longer there. You got your bill of health, you're clear. Like, is there any cues or any way we know that? Or is this just something that's continually ongoing?
See, that's the difference between having a physical ailment and having problems with depression, anxiety, nervousness, etc. If you, let's say you have diabetes and you need insulin, the insulin keeps you together. If you suffer from depression, you've been suffering from that for a while. And there's there are triggers. There's things that make you more depressed and there's things that don't. And then there's people that make you depressed and there's songs you hear that make you depressed. You know what I mean? That it's ongoing and there's no silver bullet. You know, that is why seeking therapy is such a great idea. Because you can take all the Prozac you want, but if you forget it for a day or your prescription runs out, etc., there it is. So, you know, you got to learn how to advocate for yourself. You know, I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, for the people who need help, I guess, relating this to real life, for the people who are crazy about working out, like you wouldn't stop working out because you lost weight, right? You wouldn't not ever work out again because you wouldn't not eat food again because you ate, right?
Weight.
Like it's just kind of one of those things where it should be like an ongoing thing. It's not like a one and done thing, right? This is as Dr. Cynthia mentioned,
it's
right?
a lot. It's a lot more.
Every day you should be doing this, right? Every day you should be going through these things. How am I doing? I'm not doing okay today, right? what am I going to do because I'm not feeling okay today, right?
And do things that show how much you love yourself. Like put things in your body that you know are good for you. There are foods that are depressives, you know, that weigh you down. There are, obviously alcohol is a depressive. There are things that we put in our bodies that make the problem worse. If you're depressed and you drink, you're going to be more depressed. If you're happy and you drink, you're going to be happy. You know what I mean? If you're so there, be careful what you put in your body. There are some things that are going to make you feel certain ways. There are some foods that elicit emotional reactions from you. Dr. Mark Hyman has a podcast. It's called, oh my goodness, Pharmacy, Pharmacy. And it is, he talks about how the medicine that will help us the most is what we put in our bodies the most. It's not about prescription medication or, you know, that we could actually be a lot happier if we put loving things into our bodies, loving whole foods into our bodies. So, you know, treat yourself like you love yourself. You know, if you don't feel well, maybe you need a massage. When's the last time, Black man? When's the last time you had a massage?
Long time.
It stimulates the immune system. That's why rich people live so long, because they get these, you know, all the time. You know, that there's things that you need to start thinking about. All right, I give my wife a massage.
Now she needs to give me a massage.
Exactly.
Well, the things that are good for you. Like Dre said, working out, absolutely. You know, that's good for yourself. What would it take for you to feel really good about yourself? And that's mental health, by the way. You know, I'm on your question. Mental health is taking care of you and feeling good about you, even if that means that some people are feel neglected. But that's their issue to work out. Because if you're loving yourself, other people will be attracted to you.
That's a fact.
Nothing sexier than somebody who's sure of
sexy.
themselves.
That's a fact.
I mean, it's funny. My cousin's over there like, yep. Sexy D.
I was just thinking about you just being unsure about the answers that you give sometimes. I pick A. No, I want B.
But even with that, he loves his inconciseness, and we love him for it. So it makes sense.
Yeah, I don't care. You know, this is where I would say I don't care. Okay.
I like it. It's now my problem.
Thank you.
You can deal with
Thank you.
Thank you for being
accepting
honest and
my
straightforward.
indecisiveness. Thank you for accepting.
I blame Glenn.
Hey, Glenn, you do it too. Stop it. Not as much as I do, but
I like to see both sides. I like to present both sides, so it's a little different.
Oh, that's a different way of explaining it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Whatever.
I can show both sides of the story and help you make a decision. It's okay. But I think that was an absolute gem, and I think that self-love piece is something that we're definitely missing. And even as men, we think we're too prideful to like sometimes get that manicure or pedicure or a facial. Shout out to Bloom and Groom. I had some facials this Saturday, so I'm glistening. But you know, like a lot of the times, yeah, we don't. We always think that is for women. We think, you know, sometimes as men that no, we don't need to be doing all that. I just go to the gym, play my video games, you know, and I'm good. And that's not always the case.
Yeah. There are things, again, sitting and breathing is associated with women. If I say meditate, you automatically think of a woman sitting cross-legged, you know, but it's actually so good for you. There are, what are there, 7, I think? Don't quote me. Blue zones, we call them, all around the world. And they are places in geography, places where people live to be 110 or more. Okinawa is one of them. Japan. They have the largest number of people who are over 110 years old. You ask them how they do it. You watch their activities, etc., and you'll find that they are they sit and they meditate. They do like stretching exercises. They surround themselves with people who they know love them. They're not alone, you know, and there you go. And what you'll find in research of people who live long, they're usually not the ones that are depressed. Happy people live longer, and that's a statistic.
Facts. So let's jump to our next 2 points and we'll wrap it up. So what steps, and we're speaking in regards to communities of color, what steps, Dr. Cynthia, do you think can be taken to spread the importance of mental health awareness? And, you know, apart from listening to this podcast.
And my
and of course,
podcast.
and your podcast as well, of course, especially for our educators out there.
Yeah.
What steps do you think can be taken to kind of reverse this cycle of suffering in silence? Like, where does it start?
Being honest about your own feelings when you're dealing with other people, instead of pretending you don't have them. You know, if somebody says something in your presence and you find that hurts you, you don't have to say, "Oh, it hurts me," but you can say, "I felt that." I mean, just a little thing like that. I felt that.
Physically feel it?
Is that what sometimes you do? You can make yourself have a heart attack easily.
Oh, I think you. I was gonna say. I think you knew what.
No, she did, and I like it. I like the response.
I know you're joking, but yeah, you physically, our bodies react to things that are going on around us, and we just try to shake it off. Oh yeah, I'll just tough it out. No, you know, Black people have a lower life expectancy in this country. The only people that have a lower life expectancy is Native Americans.
That's a fact.
Because we're toughing it out. You know, we're being all tough, and we know how to be angry. We know how to fight. We know how to, but do we know how to relax and be honest with ourselves? Do we know how to love ourselves? Slavery didn't teach us that. Jim Crow didn't teach us that. The Trump era didn't teach us that.
No, it didn't.
We have got, you got to take control over your perception of yourself. Nobody can love you the way you do. Once you're there, you're there.
Facts. And I guess for the finisher, and I'll direct this to members of the panel as well, of course, Dr. Cynthia, what advice would you give someone that may be dealing with a mental issue, or I guess
What
that
kind
may not
of
be
mental issue?
may not be mentally well, so maybe afflicted by the circumstances that we've outlined in the discussion, and maybe not sure where to start. Someone that may be suffering in silence and not sure where to start. What would it?
They need to take advantage of some of the online resources that are available. If there's somebody in their life that they trust. We all have a lot of people in our lives, but how many of those people do you really trust? Trust. If they have someone in their lives that they trust, then they need to reach out to that person. Don't try to suffer by yourself. You know, I mean, it really, it's not worth it. There are public hospitals that you can go in and you know, they have a psychiatric ward in which, you know, I just need to sit here for a minute, or I just need to talk to somebody, and they're not going to put you out. They're not. All right. I mean, you might not get to see a therapist, but they'll let you sit there surrounded by people, surrounded by, you know, and the nurses will offer you some water or something like that. And you just get to sit there and be around people who aren't going to judge you, that's part of the battle. I think group therapy is really good for a lot of people. Loneliness has become a major problem during COVID. And that's with Black folks also. You know, everybody's not the life of the party, you know? And so your quarantined, and the people that you would see all the time you don't see, and it can be hard. And that's why Zoom is great. I mean, you can, if you're lonely and you're upset because you're not seeing people, you can't see people face to face, take advantage of some of the online communication options that are out there. You have a whole bunch of friends who have FaceTime. Who have iPhones. You can FaceTime a whole bunch of people at once, and there you have it. But you don't have to give up and say, "Oh well, when COVID is over, I'll feel better." Feel better now. Ask Black people, white people, everybody else. Ask for what you want. How often do you ask for exactly what you want? Yes. And what I'm talking about is, real life situations. Someone close to me has dialysis, and I was trying to explain how the situation is that his dialysis schedule was not good for his work schedule. So I said, why don't you tell him to give you different days? No. Why not? The worst they can say is no.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't ask, you'll just walk around angry because you don't like your schedule.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of problems we can fix ourselves and be a lot happier, but you ask for what you want. What do you need? I said that the last episode. What do you need? What do you need?
Facts. I feel like we're all always wrapped up in the idea that we're someone's burden, and it's very hard to understand what's going on if you can't tell other people, hey, this is my problem. It's like you may think that people may be against you, but it's just like we don't know what's going on in your life until you say, hey, this is the issue that I'm having. I need help with this. Here's how you can help me. Are you offering to help? Like, without that understanding, it's hard, especially if working within a group. It's hard. Like when you have an expectation for things to be done and how we get them done. If you need help, ask for help.
Ask for help, or just ask for understanding, or I need your ear for a minute. Don't say anything. I just need to talk. Right? Yeah, it's if you don't ask for what you want, you won't get anything, and you'll be angry all the time. And you have to be really specific. It's been my experience that most people want to help you. They just don't know what to do. You know what I mean? They want to be on your side. They just don't know how to be. And then when they don't get what they want, they're angry. Not at you, but at themselves for not being able to articulate it.
Facts. Well, dang, I think on that note, I'm not sure if you have anything else to say.
Can I just say one more thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
Journal. Get a book, a blank book, a book of blank pages, and write down, free associate, write anything. Write down the lyrics to your favorite song until you feel like saying something else. And then the more you think about your feelings and think about yourself and the things about yourself that you love and the things about yourself that you don't love, put them down, write them down. Because when you read them over, you'll be like, oh man, I can't believe I thought that. Or I still feel that way. I've been journaling all my life pretty much. And I look at things I wrote 10 years ago and I'm like, oh my goodness. That's who I was back then. You get to see that you have changed. You change. You're not the same person you were in high school. Remember?
Definitely not.
You're different. And who do you like better? The guy from high school or the guy now? Journaling. Okay, that's the last thing I'm gonna say. I'm gonna hit you.
Trust. I think we need all of that. It's not very often where you can speak to someone that works in the field and really knows what they're talking about, and someone that you can essentially relate with. And that's more so important for this platform. But once again, Dr. Cynthia, thank you again for joining us. You've been a gem, parts 1 and part 2. And so we'd like to give you another esteemed thank you. And I guess just one more time for the people in the back, how can they reach you on Instagram? They may not be able to get psychological help, but how can our listeners, reach out to you, see your amazing art, listen to your podcast just one more time?
You can reach me on Instagram at cnorthingtonp. That's my my Instagram tag. You can purchase my artwork on Etsy.com. I'm on Studio 6 now.com, studio6.com. My website, I said cnorthingtonp.com. Okay. Starting in September, you can call me at 973-720-3134. That is my office number at William Patterson University.
Bop, bop. That's fellow alumni here. So thank you. We got some Willie pioneers here on the podcast too. So
and they are pioneers in this time, with everything going on. It's been unbelievable. I'm glad I'm not a college freshman at this time, where all this quarantine stuff must have taken a lot of the fun out of it.
I could imagine. All right. Thank you for that. So just in case you forgot, the podcast will be on a slight hiatus to reconfigure, enhance, and send you all with great content in season 3. So you can expect us to return to our weekly releases either late summer or early fall. But to stay informed and for more podcast-related content, be sure to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at JJC Podcast. We also want to drop a few shout-outs to all of our day ones and true ones of the pod for riding with us for seasons 1 and 2, and for all of our listeners all over the world, as well as our featured guest, Danielle and Mel of Allegedly Credible at Allegedly Credible on Instagram, the good Dr. Cynthia at cnorthingtonp on Instagram. Loved ones and friends of the podcast, Kimberly Williams, Kareem Sargent. They were guests on our discussion on raising children in America today. So definitely stay tuned for the outro coming up right after this to learn additional ways to reach us and send us your feedback. Be sure to like, follow, and subscribe. And of course, leave us a review because we really need those. We look forward to your feedback. We hope to see you all again next season. Be safe out there, y'all. Stay blessed. One love and peace.
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 Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for having me.
And that concludes today's episode, but that doesn't mean the conversation has to end. As a matter of fact, feel free to check us out at JJC Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter for our post-discussion question following the release of this episode. If you are a Black or minority business owner or professional that would like to be featured on the Rep Yours segment of our show, or a listener with some general feedback for the podcast panel, feel free to shoot us an email at jjcpod@gmail.com. As always, likes and comments are always appreciated. Be sure to subscribe or follow to be notified when the next episode releases. And until then, stay safe, stay blessed. Peace.